Jai Shriman Narayan.
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 I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagadguru Sudarshan Acharya Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to our Purva Acharyas. I pay my obeisances to our 12 Alvars. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi, and I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you here physically at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those that's watching this discourse locally, nationally and internationally. And I welcome in advance those that's going to be watching this discourse when it is posted on YouTube and the various groups from around the world subsequently. I want to wish all the fathers a happy Father's Day. I want to start from Lord Sriman Narayan, the Father of the universe, Lord Brahma, the great-grandfather of the universe, all the saints and sages that assisted in putting all the Vedic knowledge together and that gave us the Vedas, the Devtas that are the cosmic administrators, and coming down to human form, all the biological fathers that are currently on this planet Earth. So, our topic on the turbulence of our country politically continues, and I want to bring into coherence the nature of the political initiation and where it has brought us 30 years later. So those that know the history of South Africa will know that in 1955, the Congress of the People, including coloreds, Indians, blacks and whites, produced the Freedom Charter. And this document, amongst many others within the Charter, stated that everyone that lives in South Africa should be able to possess land in this country, and everyone should share the resources, all the citizens should share the resources of this country. And former President Nelson Mandela was quite active and vocal on this Freedom Charter. In fact, before the Freedom Charter, before the convening of the Congress of the People, community leaders from the Natal Indian Congress, the Transvaal Indian Congress, the Khalid Congress, they all went into the communities and asked the communities what they would desire from a free South Africa. And that information was gathered and put, which is now called the Freedom Charter. So this Freedom Charter does not belong to any political party or any institution. It belongs to the ordinary people of South Africa. Then former President Mandela was arrested, detained, and subsequently released. And later, he was detained for 27 years. That detention of former President Mandela, and how Mandela became famous is that the ANC as an institution was not making an impact around the world, and it was the idea of the ANC that this discrimination against other nationalities must be broadcast and brought to the attention of the world. And the ANC within themselves decided that since Nelson Mandela was the most popular personality in the ANC, he should personify the ANC. So they substituted the personification of the ANC of President Mandela to the ANC as an institution, and this is where the rhythm of the crisis in South Africa started to escalate around the world when the ANC was personified by President Nelson Mandela. So now people started looking at the struggles in South Africa not as an institution against the government, but a living person against the apartheid government. And the momentum picked up around the world. And whilst the momentum picked up around the world, the business community in South Africa also took cognizance that the end of apartheid rule was inevitable. So you need to understand big business. Big business does not pop up like a mushroom. Big business employs analysts, consultants, historians, scientists, political analysts, and they spend years surveying the community or the citizens of a particular country where they have a vested interest. And they spend millions and millions on these consultants, and they get the pulse, or they synchronize themselves to the pulse of the citizenry of that country and the political atmosphere. So white monopoly capital is not something, although I'm discussing it for a few years now, it happened in the 1980s, 1970s. They started their research, they brought in their analysts, their scientists, and they formulated a well thought out plan even before the ANC knew that they were going to be unbanned. You will note that F.W. de Klerk, if you go down to the 1990s, 1990, 1987, 1998, 1987, 88, 89, 90, you will see he made many trips to both America and the United Kingdom. So it was white monopoly capital, the business, as well as the Western powers that were involved in transiting from the apartheid rule to an African rule. So this was a very ingenious mix of both the government and business, and they already had a plan in action. And one of their plans was the current president, Cyril Ramaphosa. A few years ago, the leader of COPE, Mosiwa Lekota, declared in Parliament, in a legal sitting, that President Ramaphosa was an apartheid spy. And he produced documents from the security branch wherein he was questioned, and he sold his soul, and he sold out Terra Lakota. So this is evidence. This evidence is within the history of our country, but unknown. And I'm one of many people that is now bringing these truths to highlight why we are where we are today. So you will also note that I think it was in 1982 when former President Mandela was released from Robben Island and he was living in the Western Cape, in a farm in the Western Cape. And I did see some photographs with him with some white people at this farm. I'm just forgetting the name of this farm. So that brainwashing, they knew, because Nelson Mandela was the most popular ANC member, if they could get through to him, then they could handle the situation and preserve the investment and continue to reap the rewards of the investment in this country. So they dealt with President Mandela in isolation for many years, up until 1994, when he became president of this country. And as I'm saying, they researched, they collated, they analyzed, they projected, and they propelled South Africa into a specific political environment. That 1994 elections, the National Party, the ANC, was all programmed by white monopoly capital and the Western country. Everyone had a part to play. The CODESA negotiations was where the corruption started. It started at CODESA, and as I stated earlier, Cyril Ramaphosa, I don't want him to call him a president. He has never acted presidential in these years. He's a sellout. He attended these meetings and nobody knew him. The ANC leaders were asking, who is that man holding the umbrella, when Nelson Mandela was released. Nobody from the ANC knew him. He was the, I think, president of the National Union of Mine Workers. He never went underground in his life. How he became the president of NUM is one of the masterminds of the white monopoly capital. They placed him in a strategic position so that they could use him again. So he was heading the negotiations at CODESA for the African National Congress, and Rolf Meyer was heading the negotiations for the National Party. All this was stage managed. Alvin, you watch wrestling. You love wrestling, but you watch it, and you get disappointed when when the fighter that you wanted to win didn't win. Yes? Yeah, your emotions get stirred up. You get upset. You wish you could go and whack that wrestler. Don't you? Yeah, but all this is stage managed. It's written, it's scripted. Those wrestlers don't really hit each other. They don't really give each other blue eyes. Or everything is an act. Stage managed, controlled. It's an act. But yet this act can stir up your emotions and get you involved in this act. Whoever watches WWE, I don't know if they still call themselves that, they all get involved in this act. And we had our own Mahakali in this. Your Kali from India. I remember before Tiger Singh and Gama Singh. You remember? Yeah, so even I used to get emotional. I used to watch them at Westridge Park when they used to come from India, and I was a policeman then. So I used to just wear my uniform and walk into any entrance, go and sit at the best position to watch the wrestling. I used to carry a kit bag, and slowly I'll take my cap out and put it in the kit bag, and my raincoat out and keep it in the kit bag, and I'm wearing my jeans and my t-shirt. And people should wonder, because generally drinking people go to wrestling, and they would have thought they are drunk when they saw a policeman, and when they look again they see a civilian. Okay, so this is what wrestling does. It capitalizes on the emotions of its followers. Does it not? So similarly, this collaboration of the white monopoly capital, they created two parties. For the party that was created, they brainwashed one party and created and brainwashed the next party. So you will see over 30 years there were only two prominent parties in South Africa. The African National Congress and the DA. And when I said this a few years ago, there was a lot of comments, Guru, you're a guru, keep promoting your religion, forget about politics, you don't know what you are talking. And I stated then that the ANC and the DA belong to the white monopoly capital. I stated this some years ago, that both the DA and the ANC are only enacting politics in the presence of the citizenry, but in reality they are staged, managed by white monopoly capital. And nobody wanted to believe me then. Today, what was the DA's slogan to their voters in 2024? What was the DA's slogan? Rescue South Africa. Was it not? Yes. They even burned the South African flag electronically. You saw that? So, if you rescue in South Africa, who are you rescuing South Africa from? Who was controlling South Africa when they said, let's rescue South Africa? The DA, the ANC. Who was running South Africa? The DA said, rescue South Africa. Rescue South Africa from whom? The ANC. Throughout their campaign, they declared, they even went and formed the Moonshine Pact, And they legally stated to all the South African voters that our job is to remove the ANC from government. Are there not hundreds of interviews that can be located to verify what I am saying? When the voters heard that this moonshine pact led by the DA wants to remove the ANC, there was a proportion of voters that were very, very happy. Yes? Through this declaration, they voted the DA. Yes?
Yes.
Now, today, at this point in time, where is the DA? Would they?
ANC.
What reason you think they have to have colluded to be with the ANC? Because 1 week before election, you don't have to go too far. 1 week before election, they were vehemently stated that they'll never work with the ANC and they will remove the ANC from power. And today, did they ask their voters, did they consult with the voters whether they can join the ANC? Did they discuss the deals they are making with the ANC through the voters? Because remember, the voters are the majority shareholders of the DA, yes or no? How many members in the DA? If there's 1,000 members in the DA and 3 million voted for them, who are the majority shareholders? The voters. Did they consult with the voters when they went and made these deals with the ANC? What is binding them in this deal? The DA. Then let's talk about vote rigging and let's talk about why many Indian people vote the DA all the time. Let's go there. Chatsworth, Phoenix, most of the Indian areas. Why do many Indians vote the DA? Because they say a white man is honest, he is capable of running a country or a municipality or a province. Firstly, he is honest, he is capable, his administration is honest and he is capable, and a black man cannot run a administration, a black man cannot run a municipality or a province or the country, and that is why these Indian people vote DA, yes? If you noticed the DA in parliament, how many whites you saw campaigning for the DA? How many whites are sitting there in parliament? Can you see any black faces? But who was campaigning for those white faces to be in parliament? Millions of blacks, yes? I'm bringing the dynamics in. Because I started this 5 years ago. This topic I started 5 years ago when you couldn't see what you can see today. Today I am vindicated in bringing this topic in 5 years ago because the results is showing you that what the Guru said is exactly on point. So if you look at the DA today, they did not seek permission from the voters, which means they frauded the voters, right? There are hundreds of cases of vote rigging that is glaring in your face. That is glaring in your face. Wouldn't the DA, because of its policies and the perception it had created that it is a clean political party, wouldn't the DA be, even before the MK party, asking for a re-election?
Yes.
Shouldn't they be most concerned for a re-election?
Yes.
You ever heard them talking about vote rigging? Why are they not talking about vote rigging? The most trustworthy party in South Africa, a white-run party, whites who are so honest, so dedicated to this country. These whites are super dedicated to this country, to administer this country, to run this country. Why are they not talking about the criminality that is glaring in their faces? Why this sudden marriage with the ANC? What is the secret that's binding these two political parties together? Forget all the other parties. All the other parties are Mickey Mouses just to make a stage to show government of national unity. There's no government of national unity. It is the merging of the DA and the ANC. It's a merger. It is a merger that was conceived 30 years ago. When this merger was conceived? 30 years ago, as I said, white monopoly capital, they have short-term, medium-term, and long-term information put in by various analysts and political analysts and scientists and mathematicians. This has now borne fruit. And look at who is president when this happens. They planted Cyril Ramaphosa 30 years ago. His job 10 years ago or 5 years ago, when he was elected president, his job was to destroy the ANC. His job was to show me one thing this man has done as a president to uplift South Africa. Show me one thing. 500 billion from COVID. It came into this country, and where's it? Show me one thing this man did other than destroy the ANC. He was groomed to destroy the ANC. Has he achieved it? 57% to 40%. Has he achieved it? Single-handedly. Did he conform to the formula that was formulated 30 years ago? Is the ANC now not the DA? Is it not the DA? What's the difference? If this is a coalition, this is not a government of national unity. This is a coalition. Can you not see it? Can South Africans not see it? Must South Africans accept this government? Are they a government or they are stooges for white monopoly capital? They are stooges for white monopoly capital. What is the urgency to put these two parties together? President Zuma. President Zuma. They had to quickly scramble and start changing plans as soon as Umkhonto we Sizwe was born. President Zuma has been defying them for the past 30 years. When he was president, he started getting rid of certain aspects of white monopoly capital. He made the most black millionaires and billionaires in South Africa during his 9 years. He was taking the resources out in a strategic way and placing it in the hands of South Africans. But they started attacking him when? When did white monopoly capital start attacking President Zuma? 30 years ago. They knew that President Zuma is not going to bend. They managed to kill Chris Ani, who was also not going to bend. And through the grace of God, President Zuma has survived. He has survived. Whilst he was in office, white monopoly capital sent somebody or had a meeting with somebody to inform President Zuma that they will give him 2 billion rand and he must retire peacefully in Kandla. Was there any reason for white monopoly capital to give President Zuma 2 million rand? Yes. So this, what is happening, will not have happened if President Zuma could have been bought off. You understand? So we're sitting in a situation today, and any blind person can see this. Look at how they strangled the MK party mathematically. IFP did not get 50% of what MK got. ANC did not get 50% of MK, and neither did the DA get 50% of the MK's vote. MK is 45%. Nobody got 22% from these three parties. Yet they combined mathematically, and you had to put the NFP there. So when we say that these results are not fair, the CIA was involved. They manipulated. I said this a month ago, that the CIA and MI6 are in coalition with the ANC. Did I say this a month ago?
Yes.
And can you see that bearing fruit? Was the MK successful in changing the political consciousness of South Africa?
Yes.
Was the Sri Narayan Dham successful in assisting and working with the MK party to reach this position?
Yes.
Did I state this 5 years ago?
Yes.
That the Sri Narayan Dham will change the political consciousness of South Africa. I didn't say will change the consciousness of the government. I said of South Africa. Go on TikTok today. Go on TikTok today. There are, right now as I'm speaking, there must be 100,000 lives taking place whilst I am speaking. What's the topic? The coalition of the ANC, white monopoly capital, the DA, the MK party, and now people are realizing that President Zuma was never corrupt. You see, in the 70s, the West decided that information is the biggest tool for human beings, is it not? And they said if they own the information and if they are the custodians on how to distribute the information, they'll be controlling the world. Yes? So if they own all the media houses and they filter what the world must know and what the world must not know, who's controlling the mind of the whole world? Are you understanding? So that narrative that was built against President Zuma was from which media houses? All these media houses that are owned by these white capitalists are the only people that said President Zuma is corrupt. Do you remember at the outset when they made these allegations, President Zuma's senior counsel was a Mr. Hulley, Hulley. You remember? And you remember they sent an interdict to all the newspapers where he was going to sue them. President Zuma was suing all the newspapers that gave a false narrative about his character. You don't remember? Why would a senior counsel go to that length? Unless it was the truth. You understand? So I'm saying, and I'm hoping this discourses together with people discussing now on social media, there is a heated discussion, and everybody is now looking at what we have stated many years ago, that white monopoly capital are the handlers, financial handlers of both the ANC and the DA. This was the opportunity to merge them. When MK was born, then it was strategically the opportunity to benefit the white monopoly capital to merge the ANC and the DA. Is MK a formidable force to be reckoned with? Yes, nationally we won the elections. When we were on 53% nationally, that's when the CIA crashed the computers so that they could redistribute the votes. DA did not win Cape Town. It is impossible for the DA to have won Cape Town because majority of colored people in Cape Town are Muslims. And the DA is back in Israel. And millions of Muslims took to the streets of Cape Town. You all saw it on the news. And they stated vehemently they're not going to vote for the DA. And a Muslim is firstly loyal to his religion, then loyal to his country. Is that not how a Muslim lives?
Yes.
So would a Muslim have voted in Cape Town for the DA? How did the DA get the majority? And that is the secret, because the DA connived with the ANC and the CIA. That is why they are in bed today. That is the secret that's binding the ANC and the DA. They could not tamper with the ANC votes. They wanted the ANC to fall. That was President Ramaphosa's duty for the ANC to fall below 40%. They took other parties' votes and they topped it up for the DA. And that is how the DA won Cape Province, not Cape Town, sorry, Cape Province. So in reality, MK was supposed to be ruling this country. MK was supposed to be ruling about 4 provinces. So this is where we are standing today. And this is important because you can go to the mosques, you can go to the churches, you can go to the temples, you can go to the ashrams. If you don't fix your country, you are wasting your time. So I have started my interfaith some years ago, and I'm happy to announce that the interfaith that I have started is now getting assimilated into the interfaith of the MK party. There was a pastor here from the MK party who's on an interim structure, and we had some long discussions, and if not immediately, within the next 5 years, the interfaith must be a very, very strong force in this country. You all agree?
Yes.
The interfaith must be as strong as political parties, the interfaith. We must create an interfaith that must be dynamic, that must have teeth, and that must be able to expel the white monopoly capitalists from this country. And this is where we are, and this is what the Guru will be involved in with the ashram, is to co-opt and strengthen the role of interfaith in this country. So we can attack these demonic forces from the mosque, from the churches, from the ashrams, and from ordinary citizens of this country. And lastly, I also got information at the ashram on the Friday meeting where an auditor that was working at the IEC who can give evidence on the vote rigging because he was present. He was present, and through the ashram, I'm trying to connect him through our lawyers. There's one case I noticed today, the papers are already through. So basically what he told us is that when you get the data from the VDs, you have to punch it in at a central point. And if you make a mistake whilst you're punching in, then there is an auditor that will come to you, but he will not rectify that mistake in your presence. So he will take that mistake and go into an isolated room and rectify it there. Is that protocol? Is that legal for an auditor? You think an auditor must have capacity to audit without any surveillance? Because if he has the code to enter that system, what can he also do?
Manipulate the system.
Do you understand? So basically we're saying this is primary school mathematics. Whatever numbers appeared at the VDs, the sum total of those numbers must appear on central. Yes?
Yes.
So if 100,000 entered the VDs, the slips are showing 100,000, then the central computer must have a result of 100,000. If 100,000 people voted, you must have 100,000 in proportion to the different parties. When you add all the parties up, and when you add the VDs up, what the parties got and what the VDs got have to be the same. Yes? So we are showing discrepancies of up to 1 million votes in different categories. Up to 1 million votes in different categories. The MK party has 7 million registered paid up membership. Logic again, Doc. Logic. If we have 7 million paid up membership, our vote cannot be 3 million. Why would 4 million other people who are our members not vote for us? So just our membership exceeded the ANC's 40%. Only our membership. So I'm going to conclude by asking all South Africans to take part in whatever is going to happen. If you see somebody asking you for a petition to revote, what is your duty? Sign that petition. Every South African is valuable. Remember, South Africans were robbed. The ordinary South Africans were robbed and frauded by both the DA. The DA is a white-collar thief. DA is a white-collar fraud, and the ANC is a upfront criminal. The ANC will show you how they stole 10 million. In front of your eyes, they'll steal that, like housebreaking, armed robbery. That's how the ANC. The DA is white-collar criminals. White-collar criminals are people who wear suit and tie, play high and mighty. You'll think they are absolutely respectable and straight and neat and tidy. They are as bad or even worse than these people who are stealing. Now 2 rogues are in bed together. They stole the votes of the people of South Africa. If you voted for the MK, now your vote is sitting with the DA or it's sitting with the IFP. The IFP is the biggest disgrace in this country. The IFP is the biggest disgrace in this country. They should walk out of KZN in shame. But what's happening is members are resigning now. Currently, at this point in time, when the DA and the ANC merged, many ANC members are already tendering their resignation. IFP members are doing the same thing. And other members who feel sold out. A senior member of the NFP also resigned. So we're in for some proper political drama. And this is what the Sri Narayan Dham wanted. This is what I wanted when 5 years ago I said we're going to change the political consciousness of South Africa. At that point when I said it, nobody could shake the ANC. Because the voters had total trust in the ANC. You could not outvote the ANC. Today, the ANC had to go and sleep with its own enemies just to retain power. So remember again, this is very, very important. Every South African citizen should be involved in the politics of his country. It's very, 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 very important. If you're going to sit on the wayside, this is going to become just like Zimbabwe. And then I said, what's the urgency of the white monopoly capital after the advent of MK? What's the urgency? Why did they push the ANC and the DA together?
ANC will get 50%.
No. To steal the rest of the resources of this country within the next 5 years. Because they've been caught out. After the advent of the MK party, white monopoly knows they cannot remain here for a very, very long time. And I said this in a few discourses. What are they going to do? How can they do it legally? by only with the DA and the ANC together in the front, they'll build a few houses here and there, but in the background, they're going to take as much of our resources as possible, because in 2029, MK will be ruling this country, and it will be the death of white monopoly capital. So can you see how strategic they are? They put a front, a government of national unity. There'll never be national unity amongst these people. Their ideologies are contradictory to each other. The philosophy of the ANC, the policies of the ANC, the philosophy, the ideologies of the DA they are on the war path. How can they work together? So whilst that is happening there, the looting is happening in the back. This is called state capture. If you want to know real state capture, this is state capture, not the Guptas. The Guptas were innocent people in this country. Guptas were innocent. And what's going to happen next is both the DA and the ANC is going to start dying now. Tell me which DA voter will want to vote for the DA as of now. After this coalition, which DA voter want to vote for the DA? And I want to see the faces of my Indian brothers and sisters that said, hey, DA, white man, honest man, he can run, the DA can run the country. I like to see their faces. I saw them here at our voting booths down here, all these DA, high-class DA Indians. I saw them. I was giving food to my party agents. The nose was in the air when they saw our parties dancing and singing. That was not for them. But they voted for the biggest rogues of all time. The biggest rogues of all time. Imagine they stole our votes to beef up their political position. The MK party's votes were distributed to them, and they keep it silent. They will be out. Municipal election, whole of KZN, every ward will be MK. And that is going to spread like wildfire throughout the country. Remember, the black man has been betrayed. And the majority of this country is black. When the ANC combined with the DA, they betrayed the soul of the black man. So we're in interesting times. We're in interesting political times. We love our country. We must do everything that we can for our country. Tomorrow, President Zuma is going to give a political talk at 1400 hours. Let's see if the national media, we've invited all of them, let's see if they are brave enough to attend and broadcast this talk live. That's what media is supposed to do, don't you think?
Yes.
Let's see if they are brave enough. But thank God for social media, we can get through. And lastly, MK party is not a violent party. MK party does not have anything to do with any form of violence or looting. They hijacked our province. They hijacked our province. 3 thug parties hijacked our province. If we were violent, what would be the state of KZN today?
Yes.
You think one DA member should be living in KZN? You think one IFP member would have been living in KZN? You think one ANC member would be living in KZN? We are a mighty force. We are a mighty force, but we are intelligent. We're not using violence, we're using our intelligence. And we have always been 100 steps ahead of Buffalo Big Nose. You all know him? Over 100 steps. Yes?
Yes.
And we are still 100 steps. What MK wanted to achieve, we achieved 100%. We wanted to get South Africa talking. Is South Africa talking?
Yes.
And what South Africa is talking? They're talking MK. They say yes, President Zuma was always right. Yes, white monopoly is here after our resources. And the DA is simply personification of the white monopoly. These are things our ordinary South Africans would not have believed unless these two people got married. Unless these two political parties got married. Their marriage proves to the world that they are not interested in the ordinary South Africa. I wish all of you a happy Father's Day. I wish next year this time I can give you a positive report of what's going to happen. But the devil has many heads. Devil has many heads. We chop off one head here, another one appears there, another one appears there. But it's a practice of Sanatan Dharma. All what I stated here using different political parties is a practice of Sanatan Dharma. I'm teaching Sanatan Dharma through politics. I'm teaching Sanatan Dharma at this point in time through politics. All this political maneuvering is there in Sanatan Dharma, is there in the Vedas. You have to go read the Mahabharata, go read the Ramayana, and you'll find how all these maneuverings take place. And before I conclude, I think it's important that we already have a precedent. A precedent. I want you to look at the RSS in India, and I want you to look at the role of Narendra Modi. The RSS did what MK did. RSS took out the National Indian Congress, who Gandhi formed after he assisted in forming the African National Congress. The National Indian Congress of India of Mahatma Gandhi was formed after the ANC. That National Indian Congress also was colonized. The RSS was in opposition. They wanted to bring nationalism in. Is India a Hindu country? Must Hinduism be the national order of India? Although it's a democracy. So the RSS, of which Narendra Modi was a member, he came out and he put India in his true perspective. Today he's the most powerful prime minister in the world. Yes?
Yes.
Then white monopoly also tried to get rid of him. You all know that. George Bezos. And white monopoly is still after him. All the fake narratives you hear about Narendra Modi is from this fake. But he defeated white monopoly capital in India. And just like that, MK is going to defeat white monopoly capital. He revoked Article 370 and he brought peace to Kashmir. Today, Kashmir is one of the most peaceful states in the world, yes? Similarly, we're going to make South Africa one of the most peaceful countries on the African continent. You need to take religion, infuse it in politics, and get the results Narendra Modi got. Because he's a disciple of the Ramakrishna order. In this last elections, didn't you see him praying in every shrine?
Yes.
Did he win the elections? Yes. It's not easy winning elections in Kalyo. Because although he transformed India, he did 180 degrees, the people did not give him the full support. You understand? Because this is how ignorant the human mind is, and this is how the demonic people can infiltrate you. You understand? So these demonic leaders tried their best to outsmart Modi, but they didn't. And the same thing is happening. Zuma is laughing at everyone. Tell me in the MK party, besides Zuma, what else we have? You don't have a policy document, do you? You don't have a fully fledged manifesto, do you? But how did Zuma, through Zuma, win the elections in South Africa? We will know mathematically we won the elections in a country just by one man. Just by one man, his character and his name. So yes, God is, interfaith is involved in MK. Interfaith is going to play a very, very big role going forward. We're just waiting for our court cases. I have not met Zuma yet. Personally, I met him formally but not personally because I want to spend 2 or 3 hours with him plotting the interfaith segment of MK. So I wish all of y'all a happy Father's Day. Abid is rushing. You have to go see father-in-law now. You know the story. Wife is boss. Otherwise you won't have a meal tonight. Alright? So we're going to conclude. Don't worry, Abid. Father-in-law is also an MK member. Alright? So you got your excuses here and there. Politics over, family. Jai Shri Narayan.